This is To the Front. Tools for today's top agents.
Do you remember in school when your teacher said this, an apple a day keeps the what? The doctor away. I don't know if I ever believed that. I don't really even like apples. I guess I like them in like apple pies or apple fritters or something filled with sugar, but I never really tested that out. An apple a day keeps the doctor. I think the bigger point is that when you mind your nutrition, typically your a good health is going to follow. And so on today's episode of To the Front, number 15, we aren't talking about apples, but what we are talking about is something that you and your team should be doing every day, no matter whether you're an insurance agent, you're a car salesman, you own a restaurant, no matter what, something you and your team should be doing every day that will keep good business coming your way. In fact, let's call it this: a Google review a day keeps the business coming your way. I just made that up on the spot. I didn't know what I was going to say, but I just made it up on the spot. But today's episode is about the power of a Google review. And if you're ignoring your Google reviews, you're not ignoring the review. What you're actually ignoring is money. You're ignoring business. And so I want to bring on a special guest today. This is Sylvia Benjamin. Sylvia, welcome to the podcast. We're glad you're on board.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Adam. I'm excited to share today.
Awesome. And hey, let me introduce Sylvia to you. Sylvia is a captive agent in Northern Indiana, been an agent for 13 years. And I met Sylvia at an event a few weeks ago called Soaring Eagle. And I was actually pitching to Sylvia our product called Reviewsy and how it could help her agency get more Google reviews. And what I found out is that Sylvia doesn't really need help getting Google reviews. Her agency has over 800, in fact, 860 Google reviews. She's gotten like 60 since we last talked a few weeks ago when I said, Sylvia, I got to bring you on because the To the Front podcast, videocast, wherever you're watching it, is all about giving tools for today's agents, today's top agents, tomorrow's top agents. And getting great Google reviews has got to be a tool, has got to be something that you do, whether you're an insurance agent and any kind of business owner in today's world, because the introduction of the internet so long ago, and now specifically the introduction of GMB Google reviews, has made everything more competitive and people are shopping. So Sylvia, again, welcome to the show. We're so glad to hear about what your process is. And again, doesn't matter what business you own, as you're listening, you need to listen to Sylvia about her process and her team. So, okay. So Sylvia, before we get started, tell us a little bit about you, about your agency, maybe how long you've been an agent, maybe your favorite ice cream, whatever you want to. It's freezing cold outside. I don't know why I'm thinking about ice cream, but tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, thanks, Adam, and I appreciate that. Yeah, so it's cold here too, and I don't know. I like ice cream. I was hunting down some chocolate raspberry for Valentine's Day, and
Chocolate raspberry.
you know that kind of But well, I'll wait till summer now. But yeah, so we're in Northern Indiana. We're in the heart of Amish country. I'm in Napanee. 7,500 population. We have a hitching post outside of our office, so we get horse and buggies by every day.
Yeah.
And I have a fairly large team. We have our team that's responsible for in book, and then our team that's responsible for out of book. My background, I was in the car business, stay-at-home mom. I'm a veteran, served in the Army.
Wow, thank you.
So I've done a lot of things, but I love helping people and serving our community. So yeah.
Yeah. So Northern Indiana, is that near like Notre Dame or?
Yeah, 30 miles south of Notre Dame.
Are you a
I'm
Notre
originally
Dame
from
fan?
mid-Michigan, so very close to where we were where you and I connected, Adam. And so I'm Michigan State, go
Oh,
blue type
you're a
people.
Michigan
But
State fan. I was going to talk to you Notre
yeah,
Dame, but you don't care about Notre Dame.
okay,
You care about
yeah,
Michigan State.
it's
Well,
okay. I mean, you got to be Notre Dame if you live here, right? It's just kind of the politically correct thing to do. But yeah,
you have to. I went to like the stadium. I don't know, maybe it was 3 months ago or something like that, and I was expecting it to look like the scene from Rudy. That's what I was
Oh,
expecting. Like, it
uh-huh.
it didn't look anything like it. I mean, it kinda
No.
did, but now with all the structures are built around the stadium and
That's
I
all that's
don't
been the
know.
last couple of years too. It's just grown so much
For
and
sure.
money, it's just
That's
money's but the heritage there and tailgating and all that, it's fun. But
that's
yeah.
that's that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's just always interesting when I go visit somewhere, I try to connect it to a movie. I don't know why that is,
Mm.
but I do. Okay, well, let's get to the topic of the day. Google reviews. You got over 800 of them. You crush it. And so, before we get into your process, which is what I want agents to really hear, I want you to speculate for a minute. And I know you don't have a crystal ball or know every agency, but why do you think that for a lot of agencies or a lot of businesses, Google reviews are kind of a side item? They, and maybe even tell us about why they became important to you. I'll tell you, when I go look at agents or business owners Google reviews, a lot of them have less than 100. They've been in
Mhm.
business a long, long, long time. So why is it just not important, or why is it a side item to agents, do you think?
Well, I think one thing, a couple things in that, Adam, is we talk about it every day. It's something we track every day.
Mm.
We read them out loud once a week. So in our scrimmage meeting, the team member that got the Google review, I was going to grab. We've got a big dog trophy that we pass out every week. It's a bulldog, and it's the Google review big dog, right? And
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
yeah, so they have to hand that off if they lose it. So if I had it this week and then somebody had more reviews next week, then they get to grab it from me. So we have a little battle with that. But I think that yeah, it's just about awareness, right? If it's important, you find a way. If it's not, you find an excuse. I think understanding why it's so relevant to what we do,
Yeah.
and we think it doesn't make us money or put apps on the books or however we want to look at that. But if you look at the big picture, think of a drone view, right? What do Google reviews do for us? And they do so much. And so I think understanding that, but I would say just it's a focus in our office. We got a bell that we ring. They ring it for a Google review, right?
Hey.
So there's just this awareness. We put it in our team's chat. I have two remote team members, so where they put the 5 stars in there when they get it. So there's just a lot. I would say awareness is the biggest thing. If you're not doing them, why? And then if you think you're doing them but you're not getting the results you want, then okay, why is that? Well, do you talk about them, or are
Mm.
you responding? I mean, there's so many things. So
Uh, so I'm hearing it's like this intentional thing that your office does. You have an award called could you call it the Big Dog Award?
yeah, it's a
That's
bulldog.
pretty cool.
It's got a bobblehead.
Ah, that's pretty cool. And then if you lose it, you gotta pass it off to the next person. So you've got a little bell. So it seems like you've kind of gamified it
hmm
a little
Yeah.
bit. And I mean, the reality is, here's what I bet, because you have so many Google reviews, it has to have helped your business. Not only from a SEO standpoint, that's search engine optimization. That when someone is searching for insurance online, Google's trying to throw back the most relevant result for that search. And one of the things they're looking at is positive Google reviews. You shared a stat with me before we started today. Share that stat again. Something
Yeah,
about,
so
yeah.
when I started with State Farm, 12 years ago, we talked about Google reviews. If I have one, I have a couple regrets, right, that I just didn't know. And one regret I do have is we didn't hit this Google review train hard on day one. But when I first started with State Farm, it was like 70% of people started shopping online, right? And they did it through looking at reviews, looking at what people comment. And then I heard a statistic just at a meeting in October. It's 89%. So
Wow.
89% of the people that are shopping for insurance have searched us online in Googled us, or there's other search engines too. But I'm just saying they've done their research, right? Crazy thing is that even people that I'm hiring, they have researched as well. What do our customers say about us? And what is the lingo? Do you post pictures on your page?
Mm.
Through Google. We do a lot of team things in our office, and so I don't even know how many pictures we got. Probably over 1,000. I mean, if there's a team picture and I'm not talking selling products. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying pictures of us doing community events and those type of things. So I think you really have to look at, me as a consumer. You probably do too, Adam. Like, right?
Right.
If I'm looking to buy something, the first thing I'm doing is what are people saying about it? What's the
Right.
quality? All of those things. And Google's even gotten smart in this because they'll captivate what all the reviews say, and then they put what probably their AI description is of what the product is, the strengths and weaknesses of the product. And so then you've got that. So I just think as a consumer, and then I leave Google reviews, right? If I've had a great experience, I'm going to take a picture of the food or whatever it is, and I'm going to leave that Google review because we're small business and that helps us.
Right.
We spend all this money on SEO and Google AdWords and everything else, and then yet, like you said, we got 100 reviews. Like, this is something that I can do for my team because they're compensated to get a Google review.
Yeah.
We'll give a customer a gift card if they leave us one, but that's really not the motivation. We don't give a lot of those. Customers want to help us. And if we just use that word track to, hey, Adam, one of the things that you can do to help us, Sylvia spends a lot of money in marketing, and we're always looking for Google reviews. I see here you have a Gmail, so can you go ahead and leave us a 5-star Google review? And, if you have some nice things to say, that would be fantastic. And most of our customers, they do it. We have a link that we
Well,
send in a text. We try to make it easy for them. And just, it's, I mean, I had a team member this week, I think she had 7, right?
unbelievable.
And so, but she's very intentional on asking. It's part of her goals. So when we talk about what we're going to accomplish for the day, hers is always to get a Google review, and then it makes the team feel good. If someone's leaving a Google review and they put my name on it and they say, the good things that I did for them, it helps that morale too, right, for the team.
Yeah.
So.
Boy, you know what? You said a lot of really good things there. The first thing that stuck out to me was really insurance is a commodity. So many people are selling it. And in fact, probably I'm not sure in a town of 7,500, but like my good buddy Jason's got an agency in a town of 10,000, and there was at 1.3 agents from your company in his town.
Mhm.
And the reality is that it's not competitive in the fact that you can give somebody cheaper insurance in the same company. It just the rate comes back, whatever it is. All right. The company comes back. So what are they looking for? Well, they're looking you up because they're looking for you. They're looking to see what their other people's experience with you has been. So in a highly competitive market where you don't have even a lot of control over pricing, you can't play the price game.
Mhm.
You got to play the reputation game. You've got to play the public sentiment game. And you do that by Google reviews. And then I heard you said is that this is just an intrinsic part of your office culture. It's what we do. It's what we talk about. Did you call it a morning scrimmage? Is that what you called it?
We have a scrimmage meeting every Wednesday. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me why you use the word scrimmage. That's a
Yeah,
really
because we're
interesting word.
scrimmaging plays, just like I just did with you, Adam, right? Like I role played that out with you, what
Wow.
I want my team to say. So we use that time. It's an hour meeting, and we dive into numbers, right? It's just like scrimmage. It's playtime, right? And so yeah, and so we pull those Google reviews up, and we read through them and making sure they're liking them. That's the other thing. There's a like button under each Google review that you get. And I encourage the team, if it's their Google review, to go in and like that customer left that Google review for them, and then always commenting, right? Even if it's a bad review,
Yeah.
I'm going to go in and I'm going to engage in that, and this isn't about bashing back and forth, right? I'm not going to be um, I'm not talking about that. We've got some negative reviews. You can go to our
Sure.
page and check it out and see how we respond, and doing it professionally and always offering the customer to come to a resolution, to call in or come in. And so we can get to a resolution. That's always, but I don't think that there's any, I mean, obviously if you got a bunch of negative reviews and you don't have any
No
good ones,
problem.
that's a problem. But if I'm professing to be a 5-star agent and I've got 3,000 reviews, I mean, for me as a consumer, that's a little bit of a red flag. Like you're telling me you don't have any problems. Are you paying a company to erase them?
Ah, good point.
So I think that you need to have a little bit of that on there. It just shows the transparency and the integrity of my agency. So we're not perfect. We
Yeah,
don't profess to be perfect, but I always want to get to a resolution.
that's right. And it gives people the opportunity to see how your team deals with conflict,
Hmm.
how it deals with let's just say failure. That's kind of a big word, but let's just say, a team missed the mark somewhere, and it shows what can I expect? Because I think intuitively people understand that nobody's going to be perfect, and sometimes we can't even control what happened, but we can control our response.
Right.
And so how you respond to those Google reviews makes a world of difference. In fact, I used to have another little business, and we had a negative Google review come up. And so I just responded. I was contrite. I tried to be humble, offer a solution to fix it. And when we did fix it, that customer actually removed that review. And then
Right.
they actually
Yes.
removed it. They updated it. They updated it with an edit at the bottom that said, "Hey, change this to 5-star because Adam's team reached out and they were incredibly professional and helpful. I would recommend this business to anybody." And you know what? Honestly, that's one of my favorite reviews ever
Yes.
because it shows that we're going to walk through the tough process. But Google reviews are important. I want to say this to our listeners, that if they're not important to you, they should be. Why? Well, sometimes we tend to focus just on the sale. Let's just want to focus on the sale and meeting the person to get the sale. But what you don't realize is that there's a whole ecosystem of things going on around your business that happen before the sale even starts to take place. And you're being short-sighted to think that the only thing that matters is what happens after you get the lead, however you get the lead, whether it's referral or you've purchased that. No, it actually happens a lot longer before that with how you manage your reputation, how you get that Google review. And Sylvia, it sounds like you figured that out.
Yes.
So yeah,
I
go
would
ahead.
say too, just in that, Adam, we have a lot of customers who've left us Google reviews. So even in that situation, then okay, what about Facebook? What about Yelp? I was meeting with our company that handles our SEO and things, and there's 17 different search places right now, right? Like this area is growing. Like competitors are coming after Google, right? As they should, and so
Yeah,
we want to make sure that we're getting that. But even getting Facebook reviews. So if our customer says, "Well, I already left a Google review," hey, can you go leave us a review on Facebook? So we've started working that as well recently, and then on Yelp. So just making sure, and it is, our teams are doing so much, right? They're tossing so many plates. It's just, but again, at least having that conversation and talking about it. And then we leave a note in our system that says Google review received. So we're not constantly asking if they've already left one, right?
sure.
We know they've left one. So, yeah.
That's how you do it. Well, you've thrown out a bunch of things that you're doing to get them, but if we can, I'd like to put them for our listeners. So they're thinking, Sylvia, this is great. I want to start focusing on them. I'm sure it's helped grow your agency. Let's put together. Let's scrimmage for a minute,
Okay.
and let's put it in one line. All right. So I'm your customer. I've just left your business. I've purchased from you. I've maybe written the whole household, right? So tell from the moment that I leave, what is you and your team's process to get my Google review? So
Well, the
just
first thing
paint
we would
paint me
do
through the
is
whole
that
thing.
yep, if you were in person, we have a report card that the customer fills out based on their experience with the office. So if it's in person, like I said, I'm in Northern Indiana, so we do a lot of business over the phone and online. But if you're in person, that's going to be, hey, Adam, I want to thank you for choosing Sylvia Benjamin State Farm. Welcome to our State Farm family. We're excited you're here. One of the things that's important to us here, Adam, is this report card. Sylvia wants to make sure that we provided that world-class service and that everyone leaves here better and happier than when they came in. So if you could do that for her. And then one thing you could do for me, Adam, is, Google reviews are a huge part of our world. Wouldn't you agree? So I see here that you have a Gmail. So it's really easy. Do you use Google reviews, Adam? Do you use them
Uh,
yourself?
yeah, I do. I mean, usually I use them when I'm mad, but
Okay, okay. Well, I can appreciate that. I do too. One thing, if I could just share with you, I don't like leaving a bad review. I'm going to try to resolve it before I have to leave the review. So
yeah.
I just did this last week. I called the manager at the store and said, hey, we got to get this resolved or I'm going to have to leave a bad review and I don't want to do that. And you know what? They got it resolved. So my challenge to you is that, but whatever, to each his own. No, but one thing that you can do, Sylvia spends a lot of money in marketing. And Google reviews are a way that you can just help us because most people, they check out the Google reviews before they buy something. And so if you could just go ahead and grab your phone right now and
Oh,
you
right
can,
now. Yeah.
just go to Sylvia Benjamin State Farm. And if you go to that review tab there, do you believe that I provided you 5-star service today, Adam?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Okay, fantastic. So if you could just click those 5 stars for me, and then if you could just say some nice comments about our interaction or our office today, that would be super helpful.
Yeah,
So
happy
that's
to do
how
it.
we would do that in person. If it's over the phone, we're going to do very similar. We still do that report card, and then we're going to text them a link. We have a link that we have,
Sure.
and so the same thing applies here. Adam, I'm going to go ahead and send you this link. If you could just go in and leave 5 stars for me, that would be great. Any nice things that you could say about our interaction today would be super helpful. If the customer says no, let's say they say, no, I don't leave Google reviews. Okay, no worries. Well, if I could get you a gallon of gas or a Starbucks, coffee, so that
Yeah.
we'll do that as
Oh,
a, but I would say most of the time that isn't the
we need it.
motivator, right? It's that they want to help us. They understand that we're a small business, and most of them at this point, because we've done such a great job over the years on this, they've already read our reviews and they know how important it was because that's how they maybe came to our office too, right? And so they're just willing to do that. But we coach through this, we role play it out just like you and I just did, and then we do as part of our onboarding. Um,
Oh,
we um, we have it's one of their tasks that they do, and then the same thing on the service side, right? So if let's say they're not a new customer, they're an existing customer, so the same thing applies. Hey, Adam, did I take care of everything you needed today? One of the things that's super important to our office is, you leave in a review and just talking about our interaction today. And I'd appreciate 5 stars. And if you don't mind mentioning my name, sometimes they'll talk about the battle. It depends on who the customer is. If
yeah.
they're younger, obviously not maybe to our 70-year-old customer, but if they're a younger customer and they understand, hey, we have a little battle in our office trying to figure out who gets the most Google reviews for the week, and it's a close call right now. So if you could leave me one, so sometimes that works,
Wow.
especially with our younger customers.
So you
But
have multiple ways to approach this.
absolutely, absolutely, because they're fighting for that big dog trophy, right? So
Sure.
there's that, and then putting the 5 stars in the team chat, ringing the bell. So there's the ways to win in that, and we're a competitive culture in my office, and so fun competition, and this is a way that if you have unlicensed team members, they don't need a license to get Google reviews.
They don't.
So my team member right now who's crushing it, who got 7 this week, she's not licensed yet. And she's just
Wow.
crushing this Google review space. She schedules appointments. She's our director of first impressions. She's who you see when you come in. And so I just think that, looking at your office, you don't need a licensed team member. I mean, obviously if they have the interaction with the customer, yes, but great job for a high school intern. You want to watch it too. Google don't like you getting a bunch at a time. They went and deleted a bunch of, I guess the number was right 2 weeks ago. We went
Yeah.
from there was all kinds of craziness with that. They're
Oh,
all back
sure.
now. So I don't know what Google was doing, but they figured it out. So
They were off there. Just how you asked me, it was so smooth. It just rolled off your tongue. And either you're just a really great orator or you've got a script
yeah,
that you've taught your team, that you've taught yourself, that it just rolls off naturally now. You don't have to
yeah,
think about it. You're not reading it like, please leave me a Google review. That would
right.
make me really happy. No, it just felt like we were talking. And
Yeah,
it was a natural part of who you were. I would have never known it was a script if before we had started the podcast, you told me the same script. And then it's almost verbatim, but it was
mhm,
so smooth. And
mhm,
so if you're listening to this out there, if you're watching on YouTube, build a script.
yeah,
And then the cool thing is practice that script over and over till you don't need the piece of paper or you don't need the cue card. and then it just rolls off. It becomes part of who you are. And think about what you're really good at, and what you're really good at is something that you've practiced, something that
Mhm.
you scrimmaged on, and it just comes naturally with who you are. In fact, I would probably say that. And Sylvia, tell me this. I would say your team members in your office probably on their first day are not super smooth asking for a Google review, but I guess is that after a while they get really good. They get
Well,
really
we just
smooth.
practice a lot, right? It's what you said, Adam. You got to practice, right? And it's going to feel uncomfortable. We have team members like, oh, I got to ask. And it's like, yeah. And we do type out the script. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, we do a lot of business over the phone. Our customers don't know you're reading a script, and it's okay to do that. I think our team members, they want to feel confident in what they're doing. And the more tools that we can give them, we have so many resources as agents today, just for everything, right? There's a play for everything. And the one thing that I just see is, executing it, accountability, right? You pay for
Right.
programs, just start executing, right? But I think that there's nothing wrong with practicing, and I'll practice all the time. I don't have a problem. I'll be the team member, I'll be the customer. I believe in servant leadership, and that's how I serve
Oh,
my
I love it.
team, and I want them to know that. I'll get in the trenches with them, and I get it. That's not everybody's leadership style, but um, have them practice with each other then. If you don't want to be
Sure.
the team member, you don't want to be the customer. So
You and I are a lot alike. You don't even know. I mean, we haven't known each other that long, but I think we're brother and sister. And you don't even know. In my,
probably that could
in my,
be Adam. I've
it,
got my family's kind of.
it, the whole servant leadership is speaking my language. In fact, and
Mm,
if you know this, I not only own part of Front Runner, I'm our managing partner, but I also own a couple of print shops here in
okay.
Kentucky. And then in our break room, sort of meeting room for our team, we've got 5 pictures that are our DNA for our company. They're the same pieces of
Mm,
DNA they are for Front Runner. One of those pieces is an upside down pyramid, and
mm,
the upside down pyramid is our servant leadership model. And it sounds like
mm,
you have the same one as servant leadership models, is that the higher up you go, the more you have to be willing to serve and to do the stuff that anybody does, right? Leaders eat last. Leaders
yeah,
go first in terms of doing the hard stuff. And that even includes asking for the Google review,
that's
role
right.
playing, getting down in the trenches with them. And there's no doubt that that's why you're successful, because you're willing to do that, man. You're inspiring me. I'm like, man, I got to be better at
Mm.
getting Google reviews in my own business. Even though Front Runner
Yeah,
doesn't have
yeah,
Google reviews, my print shops do,
yeah.
and we're working on that. We use a software called Reviewsy. I'll talk about that here in a minute. It was so funny. I was trying to like sell you on Reviewsy, and I was like, no, don't change your process, Sylvie, because it's working for you.
No, you said that to me, so I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
because the point is not, oh, there's only one way. The point is that there is a way, that you need to develop a way that works. And the point of the podcast today is just to make it important. Just
Mhm.
make it something that you focus on. So, and this is my last question for you, because I know you're a busy agent. Pretend like I'm an agent who's not been focusing on it. I want to get the ball rolling. What would be like a first step to getting this going, right? Because I mean, you have a really simple process, but my guess is it feels so simple is because you've put a lot of work into it.
Mhm.
So, and that's what I find. Most of the more work that you do towards a process, the
Mhm.
simpler it becomes. The less
Okay.
work you do, the more convoluted and complex it is, right?
Mhm.
But the more work, typically you boil it down to what's really essential to being successful. So, what's a first step an agent can do who's not been focusing on their reviews? When they get a review, it's just by accident.
Mhm.
What's a
Usually
first
that's
step?
a negative review, by the way.
Yeah, usually it's a negative
No, it
review.
is.
That's right. That's right.
I think
So,
the first thing, if,
what's
I,
that?
if I'm having a conversation with an agent, I'm a why and a what person, right? So why are we doing something and what are we doing about it? Or so if you're not getting Google reviews, why? So I would
Yeah,
just why? Why not?
yeah,
What's the breakdown for that? And then I think just understanding, I don't, whoever your company is that you're using the SEO with, ask them if it's important. So just don't take my word for it. Ask them, hey, how important are Google reviews? And then maybe that'll help you understand the why, and creating awareness. And the other thing I ask my team, you can't expect a customer to leave you a Google review if you don't do it yourself.
yeah.
So that would be my next challenge to you is start leaving reviews for small businesses. It's something that we can do that doesn't cost us anything. And small
Seriously.
business is hard, right? So it's just something that you can do. And before you go to leave that negative review, again, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to email somebody. I'm going to call
Yeah.
somebody because they are hurtful and it does affect things. And then always making sure you respond. We have a social media with State Farm that, there's 9,000 agents in there, and, sometimes they'll post, hey, I got this Google review and it's negative, and how do I respond? Or you watch people go back and forth, like, who's going to win the fight, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I lost the fight. They left the Google review. It's a 1.0.
Right.
I already lost. So I got to figure out, how am I going to win in that? And I'm going to win by commenting and trying to get to a resolution. And that's how Sylvia wins, right? So I always want to look for ways to get to it. And then, like you said, Adam, asking them to go in and maybe change the review. You can have people go in and update even a 5-star review.
Sure.
They can go in, if they left you a 5-star review, it pushes that review back up to the top. It makes it relevant. So those are just some things that I would just say, start somewhere. Ask your team, do they want to be incentivized for it? We have a points in our office. They have to hit 50 points a day, and so it's part of that too. They get 5 points for getting a Google review. So just finding many ways to win in their day. And
Yeah.
we've been freezing here in northern Indiana the last couple of days. It's been hard, but I still want them to win and finding ways to win in their day. And it might not be
Huge.
about an app that day, or taking the check for the payment, or whatever it is. Maybe it is the Google review. Maybe it is setting the 2 appointments. Just finding different ways that they can win.
Huge. Helping my team win, starting with why. In fact, I did an episode about 4 weeks ago, 5 books that every agent needs to read in the new year. And one of them was called Start With Why.
Yeah.
And I love that, because starting with why is not only starting with why of your business, it's starting with why is something not working, or why is something not important. And you'll get it going. You're compensating your team for doing, you're energizing, you're a cheerleader. You're doing all the right things, Sylvia. I want to come work for you. I might tell my partners at Front Run I'm quitting. I'm coming to work for Sylvia. If you'll take somebody from Kentucky as a remote team member, I
As
feel like I
long
can
as you
feel
got a little
alive.
draw in your voice, we'd consider it, y'all. Doing
That's
your
right.
Coke, and yeah.
I can build a y'all in there, because and that's kind of the hidden thing, is that people want to work for an inspiring leader. I know this is not what this episode is about, but I got to tell you something, agents, business owners, people don't want to work for a low energy leader. They
Right.
just don't. And I'm not trying to be harsh, but I'm being real. People want to work for someone who's exciting, they're inspiring, they're pushing, they're joining you in the work. They don't want to work for someone who's just sort of turning the wheel over and over and getting through the day and waiting for the weekend. No, they want to work for a leader who's got vision. And Sylvia Benjamin has vision. Sylvia, I'm inspired. I'm so grateful that you jumped on this podcast. If you're listening,
Thanks for having me.
absolutely. Absolutely. I've got 2 tools. I guess the podcast is called Tools for Today's Top Agents. I've got 2 tools for you right now to help get started on this process. The first is that Sylvia is very gracious. She has shared her alias. If you wanted to email her, she'd be happy to maybe if you're telling her your process, she might be able to give you a pointer or 2. And Sylvia, your alias, I asked her beforehand, by the way, is TL6G, right? So T as in Tom, L as in Larry, the number 6, G as in whatever, the letter
Golf.
G. Golf. Yes. Golf for go, right? Because Sylvia's a go-getter. So TL6G. If you've got a process and it's working, stick with it, re-engage it. If you don't have a process, create a process. One could be you could connect with Sylvia. She'd be more than happy to help. I'm going to owe Sylvia $1 million for the amount of people that are going to reach out to you for this. Another tool that you could use is our tool called Reviewsy. And you can find it at reviewsy.com. It actually automates a lot of the review asking process, especially if you do a lot of business where you don't see the customer in person. It sends them a link. It just asks them to rate you 1 to 5 stars. If it's 3 or 4 or below that, it's going to pop up a private feedback box, let you kind of deal with that before it goes public. If they rate you 5 stars, it's going to load up your Google, your Yelp, and your Zillow to leave a one-click review. That might be helpful to you. Check it out on reviewz.com. But if you already have a process that works, keep doing that process. That was my suggestion to Sylvia. She didn't need my suggestion. I need her suggestion. And I mean, I am so glad that you came on, Sylvia. Any final words for our friends here on the To the Front podcast from you?
No, I would just say just dive in and do it, right? We hear so many great things, and we just put it off. Like, this is something you can activate right now, like right now. So even go in and having your team members leave a review about working for you. We've got some of those on there too. So it's just do it. Just do it. Start doing it. It's important. It matters. It counts.
You know what? That's going to be the best advice you hear all day, whether you're talking about Google reviews or just something difficult. Just do it. Just go for it. Again, Sylvia, thanks again for being our guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for episode number 15 of the To the Front podcast, episode number 16. Check out what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about complacency. And specifically, we're going to talk about how complacency will kill you. It'll kill your business. And that's next time on the To the Front podcast. Until then, be blessed. Focus on what really matters in this world. And that's making people's lives easier and better. And Sylvia Benjamin and her team are doing that. So again, thanks again. And we'll see you next time on To the Front.